Opinions and stories around the game we love, told by your favorite storytellers. Stay up to date with all things cricket. Subscribe to CrickBuzz's YouTube channel and press that bell icon now. India versus Australia, a cricketing rivalry across all formats that caters to every taste. It is such an exciting rivalry. Sachin Tendulkar versus Glenn McGrath, Virendra Sehwag versus Brett Lee, you name it. It's almost an inexhaustive list of some iconic cricket matches, which means it's very difficult to pick the top 5. My name is Tanay Tiwari, and today I've taken up that job to pick out the top 5 India-Australia games in T20Is. Let's go. This one has to be one of my favorites because until this point in World Cups, every time India and Australia met, Australia seemed to just have that edge, do something that would completely bamboozle and outplay India. Not this time around, not in the 2007 T20 World Cup. A young side under MS Dhoni met Australia in the semi-final of a World Cup. MS Dhoni won the toss and India opted to bat first. And Yuvraj Singh, who was fresh off those 6 sixes versus England, just tore through Australia's attack. A 30-ball 70. Add to that the finishing touches from MS Dhoni himself. 36 off just 18, and India had a very healthy 188 for 5 on the board. But this is Australia in a World Cup knockout game. They weren't going to back down from a fight, and they didn't. Matthew Hayden was at the forefront of that attack. He was actually taking the Indian bowlers on. But then a splendid show from Sreesanth, Irfan Pathan. They just blew Australia apart, especially some of those iconic celebrations from Sreesanth after dismissing Hayden and Gilchrist beating that pitch. This one is for the keeps. India beat Australia and then went on to beat Pakistan in the final. One of the most famous India-Australia games, hands down. From the highs of Durban to the low in Melbourne. Almost a year later in Australia, India and Australia met again, and this time it was Australia's turn. In this one-off T20I, India were bowled out for 74. To date, their lowest T20I score ever. And it's not like India didn't have the batters. They had Gambhir, they had Sehwag, they had MS Dhoni, they had Dinesh Karthik, so they were power-packed. And yet, Irfan Pathan was the only Indian batter to register a double-digit score in that game. Australia had a very easy run chase on their hands, and they completed it in under 12 overs, handing India a big defeat. One for Australia to keep this time around. Now this one's in 2016 in Australia. India had already lost the ODI series 4-1, but in the T20Is they had an unassailable lead of 2-0, which meant this game was supposed to be a dead rubber. But it really is when two champion sides go up against each other, and this one was a very exciting encounter. Australia batted first. Shane Watson put up a show, his maiden T20I century. Australia put on the board 197 for 5, of which 124 were made by Shane Watson. Out came the Indian batters and they were up to the task. Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, both scoring those half centuries. But when you're chasing 198, you need those added finishing touches. You need that X factor. And at that time, Suresh Raina was India's X factor. With his finishing skills top-notch, he ensured that India didn't have a lot of hiccups. 49 runs off just 25 balls, with Yuvraj Singh at the other end for company. Raina completed a clinical chase for Team India. India clean swept Australia 3-0 in this series, with that trophy in their bag. This one is one of the most iconic run chases in T20I's history, and at the helm of this is the chase master, Virat Kohli. This was a crucial game between India and Australia in that T20 World Cup in 2016. India beat Australia, Australia will be knocked out. That was the equation then. Australia set on the board 161 for India to chase in Mohali, a modest target. But Australian bowlers were right on the money. Rohit Sharma, Shikhar Dhawan, Suresh Raina, all gone inside the first 50 runs of India's innings, which meant all the onus to chase yet another target down was down to that one man, Virat Kohli. And he was going about his business just his usual way. He was stealing those doubles, converting those singles into doubles, getting that occasional boundary. But at the other end, Yuvraj Singh was struggling. The moment Yuvraj Singh was dismissed, in came Dhoni, and that's when Virat Kohli started putting up a show. After that, Virat Kohli just knew that he was in the zone to win India the game. In came the 19th over, and he hit 4 fours off Nathan Coulter-Nile something that sealed the game for India. And the images that followed, well, became iconic. Virat Kohli hunkered down on his knees, exhausted completely, but bathed in glory. The glory of a win, the glory of one of the finest chases in T20I history. From an ace Virat Kohli finish to an ace Hardik Pandya finish in that T20I series in 2020 in Australia. Now, Australia batted first. Matthew Wade, courtesy his good form in the BBL, opened the batting for Australia and gave them a very good start. Then the finishing touches were provided by Smith and Maxwell. Australia put on the board for India to chase down 195. This was a tall task, but Virat Kohli, KL Rahul, Shikhar Dhawan were all up for it. But India needed those finishing touches, and they came from Hardik Pandya. A 22-ball 42 from the ace finisher. He was all over the Aussies. In the last over of the last 6 balls, India needed 16. Hardik said, "I'll do it in 4." And that is exactly what he did. India finished the game with 2 balls to spare. Hardik, with his arms up in the air, doing things that only perhaps Hardik Pandya can do on a cricket field. So then, that's our list of the top 5 knocks between India and Australia in T20Is. Did we miss something? Should we have included some else? We'd also like to see some more in the upcoming T20I series. Don't forget to tell us your list of picks of the top 5 knocks between India and Australia in T20Is. We'll be waiting to hear from you.